As a former Navy SEAL, I faced danger in places most can't imagine. But nothing prepared me for the day 3 strangers in ill-fitting suits showed up at my doorstep, claiming to be from a homeowners association that didn't exist, demanding to inspect my 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, for compliance. I'm James Dalton, and this is the story of how I turned their scam into their nightmare, leaving them crawling to the police station with shattered knees after they tried to take my little girl. My methods weren't gentle, and some call them brutal. But when it comes to protecting my family, I don't play by anyone's rules. 6 years ago, I settled in Cedar Hollow, a quiet suburb 40 minutes outside Portland, seeking peace after 12 years in the SEALs and the loss of my wife, Clara, to cancer. Cedar Hollow was perfect, tree-lined streets, friendly neighbors, and no HOA to nitpick our lives. I'd left the military's rigid orders behind, and the last thing I wanted was a nosy committee dictating my fence height. Now a cybersecurity consultant, I worked from home to be there when Sophie hopped off the school bus, her backpack bouncing as she chattered about her latest obsession, collecting shells and studying marine life. Every evening, we'd sit on the porch, Sophie explaining why starfish aren't fish at all, her labeled shells spread out like treasures. Those moments were my anchor, the reason I'd survived long deployments and cold nights in places I still can't name. Cedar Hollow, built in the 90s by a tech mogul who despised bureaucracy, was a haven. No two houses looked alike, and the community thrived without formal rules. Neighbors like retired teacher Eleanor Hayes, who treated Sophie like a granddaughter, made it feel like family. Life was steady. Sophie caught the bus at 7:30, I worked until she returned at 3, and we filled our afternoons with hikes, museum trips, or her endless school projects. Weekends meant soccer, sleepovers, and barbecues. It wasn't the adrenaline-fueled life of my youth, but it was everything I needed. Trouble crept in on a crisp October morning when Eleanor knocked, holding an envelope from the Cedar Hollow Homeowners Association. It demanded $300 for non-compliant garden shells Sophie had gifted her, citing a fake bylaw. I frowned. Eleanor, we don't have an HOA. My SEAL instincts kicked in, spotting flaws in the letter, a Gmail address, a Nevada phone number, a website registered 2 weeks prior. No state records backed this HOA. That night, a group chat revealed 7 neighbors had similar letters, finding everything from porch plants to a backyard swing. The documents screamed scam, but their polished legalese could fool most. I dove into digital reconnaissance. The website's domain traced to a Cayman Islands shell company. The phone number led to a virtual office in Las Vegas. The logo was stolen from a Florida HOA. These weren't amateurs, but they'd underestimated their target. My neighbor, Officer Mark Evans, a former Army grunt, agreed it stank. Been here 15 years, he said over beers. The builder hated HOAs. This is fraud, but without proof of money changing hands, my hands are tied. He warned scams like this often escalate, and he was right. Wednesday evening, a black SUV idled outside my house, snapping photos. Sophie, doing homework, noticed. Dad, why are they watching us? Her small voice tightened my chest. Just curious folks, kiddo, I lied, but my blood boiled. My cameras caught the plate, tracing it to a rental leased by Property Oversight LLC, another month-old shell company. Then Eleanor called, panicked, 3 men at her door demanding her fine and asking about me and Sophie. My security app showed the cheap suits, fake credentials, and a binder of forged documents. The leader, Vincent Russo, waved it aggressively. I told Eleanor to stall and sprinted over, but they fled in the SUV. They returned the next day, bold as brass. Russo flashed a crocodile smile. Mr. Dalton, I'm with the Cedar Hollow HOA. We have concerns about your property, especially as a single parent. His goons, hulking Carl Weber and twitchy Owen Blake, flanked him. Weber's prison tattoos peeked from his collar. Blake kept eyeing my house, Sophie's window in particular. There's no HOA, I growled, stepping between them and my door. Russo patted his binder. Recently established. We need to ensure your daughter's welfare complies with regulations. The threat was clear. My voice dropped to a tone that once froze recruits. Leave now, or this becomes a police matter. Russo's smile faded, but he pressed, we'll return with authorities if needed. Blake snapped photos of Sophie's window as they left, and I felt a rage I hadn't known since combat. That night, I activated my basement war room, a secure setup for sensitive cybersecurity work. Facial recognition tied Russo to fraud convictions. He bragged on dark web forums about scamming military families. Weber linked to California crime syndicates, intimidating homeowners into selling cheap. Blake, the tech whiz, built fake municipal sites and documents. Digging deeper, I hacked Blake's cloud storage, finding dossiers on Cedar Hollow families, including ours, marked priority target, single parent, military, young child. Photos of Sophie at school, notes on Clara's death, and plans to use child welfare as leverage chilled me. Past scams in 3 states had displaced 47 families, netting $12 million for their backer, Charles Vaughn of Peak Realty, a developer whose lowball offers Cedar Hollow had rejected. Vaughn's operation was slick, using fake HOAs to harass residents into selling. Court records showed similar tactics elsewhere, always targeting vulnerable groups. I compiled evidence, encrypted, uploaded with dead man switches to the FBI, media, and colleagues if I didn't check in. Physical copies went to a safe deposit box. I planted trackers on their devices, monitoring their moves live. To bait them, I leaked fake financial troubles and a work trip, leaving Sophie with a sitter, ensuring she was safely with my sister in Salem. Physically, I fortified our home. Infrared cameras, motion sensors, pressure plates, and AI threat detection, like a war zone outpost. I left subtle warnings, waving at their hidden cameras, planting a file on Blake's server labeled I_C_U_Owen, EXE with his address. When Weber tailed me, I loudly mentioned SEAL buddies who handle bullies. They were rattled, and I wanted them sloppy. The final straw came when I spotted a fake crossing guard, an associate of Weber's, near Sophie's school. I drove her myself, briefing her teacher to allow only me, Eleanor, or my sister to pick her up. That afternoon, Blake was photographing kids outside the school. I snapped his picture before he sped off. That night, I prepped Sophie for safety drills, reinforcing her panic room protocol and our code word, Seashell Fortress. With Sophie safe, I rallied Mark, ex-Marine sniper Jake Morales, and former Air Force investigator Ben Foster. We planned a trap. I staged valuables near windows, rigged with GPS and die packs, and turned my ground floor into a tactical maze, rugs to trip, furniture to block. In Sophie's room, a mannequin in her pajamas lay under covers, cameras ready to catch their crime. I faked calls about a glitchy security system and late work Thursday night. At 2 a.m., my alarms pinged. The SUV rolled up, headlights off. Russo, Weber, and Blake crept to my door, whispering about kidnapping Sophie to force my compliance. Blake bypassed my lock. They grabbed the bait bags and rifled my office. Then Russo ordered, check upstairs for the girl. It's a welfare check, all legal. They crept to Sophie's room, Blake pointing at the sleeping form. I emerged from the shadows. You picked the wrong house. Weber lunged with a knife. I snapped his wrist, kicked his knee sideways, and he collapsed, screaming. Blake bolted. I hooked his knee, buckling it backward. He crumpled, vomiting. Russo pulled a pistol, babbling about HOA duties. I disarmed him, breaking his fingers, then shattered his kneecap with a knee strike. 30 seconds, 3 men down. I zip-tied them as Mark and the others stormed in. The cameras caught it all: attempted kidnapping, theft, fraud. I crouched by Russo. Crawl to the station and confess, or I call 911 and say you came for my daughter. Child predators don't last in prison. Russo, pale, gasped, Vaughn paid us $250,000 to tank property values. The kid was leverage. I cut him off. Crawl. Cedar Hollow watched as they dragged themselves 6 blocks, suits torn, knees bleeding. Eleanor served coffee. Jake narrated like a sports commentator. By the station, they were broken physically and mentally. Detective Laura Bennett met us, grinning. You just cracked 15 cases. Russo's confession, my evidence, and federal follow-ups toppled Vaughn. Arrested with $5 million in crypto, he got 25 years. Russo got 15, Weber 20, Blake 7, plus sex offender status. Peak Realty collapsed. Its Cedar Hollow lots now a playground. Cedar Hollow formed a neighborhood watch, not an HOA. Sophie's shells grace a community garden. I consult on fraud prevention, my story a warning to scammers. Some call my actions excessive, even cruel. Let them. They didn't see Sophie's fear or the dossier targeting her. I'm no hero, just a father who'd burn the world to keep his daughters safe. When Sophie asks about the bad men, I say they learned bullies face consequences. She nods, then tells me about jellyfish. I listen, ever vigilant, always ready. Cedar Hollow thrives, free from fraud, and my home stands as a fortress for Sophie, untouchable.